From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater. Radio 111 presents Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
And welcome to The Desert Scene. I'm so glad it's fall. It's cool. Finally, we're cooling off, which is so great.
No, really. It has been nice to go outside for once and not feel like I'm burning up.
Yeah, and you wake up in the morning, you can open the doors, and there's a breeze coming in. It's just great. Yay!
Yay!
So, I am, for full disclosure, I'm glad we're on radio because I had my eyes dilated this morning. I went to the eye doctor and had to wait for quite a while and got in there later than I'd hoped. So they're still coming back to normal. So I think I can read my notes well enough. So anyway, we were talking before we got on. Can I tell the Barbara Corcoran story?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I don't watch The View anymore. I watched it way back when, but now they just kind of talk over each other. I mean, I respect all the women, but this was on Facebook that apparently Barbara Corcoran, who's that little petite blonde who she's on Shark Tank, and she does the commercials for the local real estate guy. Get your home sold. And she was on Dancing with the Stars. She's a little, like 5'2", little thing. She apparently was a guest on The View, and somebody was talking about, I don't know, was it Dancing with the Stars, something about costumes or clothing, and mentioning something, and Whoopi Goldberg was joking around and said, do you make them big enough for, a big COVID rear end like mine? Making fun of herself.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And Barbara Corcoran said something like, well, Whoopi, when you're done with them, give them to me and I'll make two pairs for me, or I'll make two costumes for myself. Kind of fat shaming Whoopi Goldberg. And she didn't care for that too much, and the audience booed apparently. And then Anna Navarro, who's also on there, came to her defense. And anyway, Barbara Corcoran has since apologized, but it's like, why do you say stuff like that, even to begin with?
No, I mean, you're right. It's one of those things where, like, you almost want to, I don't know how to put it, but you almost want to tell people sometimes, like, you don't have to say everything in your mind right now.
Exactly.
And it's also one of those things where, like, I kind of hate to say it this way, but I kind of figure if you are on a show like Shark Tank and your idea is to be able to negotiate and talk to clients, I think knowing some tact would be part of the job.
What to say and when to say. Yeah. And the other thing is, and I can't remember who originated this, but I love this phrase. Someone once said, before you say something, ask yourself if it's true, if it's kind, and if it's necessary. And if it is not, all those three of those things, you probably shouldn't be saying it. I mean, you don't have to say everything. If everybody said everything that popped into their head, oh my gosh, we'd have even more gun violence than we do now. And we'd have more because everyone would be mad all the time. Sometimes you just have to hold your tongue and not say it.
And it's one of those things where, like you said, like, it wasn't necessary for her to say it. And it's also one of those things where I feel like, for me, even if, let's say, Whoopi took it a certain way where she didn't exactly, like, get offended per se, I still feel like you kind of have to know your audience a little bit. Like,
thank you.
The audience for The View, for the most part, are stay-at-home women or women on their break from work. And a lot of whom
probably are a little heavier than they'd like to be.
Oh, yeah. Like, let's be honest. Like, The View has always been a show that has been sort of like, these are not glamorous movie stars.
Yeah, these are every woman. Yeah,
every
chatting.
woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the show got a lot of criticism, a lot of jokes because of the fact that they've always been good at having bigger women on the show. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be honest, that's a great thing, because
Absolutely.
How many shows have you seen
where they're all size 2 or 4 or whatever? Yeah.
And right now, like, you have Meghan McCain, you have all these people. Well, not Meghan
when they first started, Star Jones, who was a big woman. Yeah.
And the thing is that I'm glad that the Star Jones jokes have gone away, because they've shown that, well, nobody was really skinny on The View. Like, nobody really was. Even the thinnest
Lisa
woman.
Ling, when she first started, she was she's thin, but
she's thin, but like not.
Most of them are kind of curvy. Yeah.
They're curvy. So like, for me, it's like, it's one of those things where, like, I always assume that your audience will be a little bit bigger than you. Like, for example, like, I assume the audience for The View, like you said, bigger women. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. I just think that if you're on a show where your audience is a certain kind, it's not really great to go up there and make those types of jokes without really being mindful about about the audience, because they might not take it the way you do.
And I am not a fan of really ever making jokes about someone's appearance. I mean, I just don't think that's necessary, and I don't think that's, you know what I mean?
Oh no, I get you.
There's other things that are funny in life. I think you should stay away from that.
I think those types of jokes are always funnier, in my opinion, when someone makes them about themselves. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like John Mulaney, he looks, he admits he looks like a very tall child. Like, he has a very youthful face, and because he doesn't grow facial hair for the most part, he looks like a tall child, and so he goes around calling himself tall child.
You have the right to make those jokes about yourself, but I think other people making them about somebody else is just tacky.
No, I think so too. I think if that's the only joke you have, it's not really funny. And
get some better material.
That's true. And it's funny because the one show that I always like to call the making fun of someone's appearance show was Spitting Image. It's a very famous British show where they used to have like the really ugly caricature puppets of characters. I don't know if you remember that show from the 80s. I don't.
Yeah.
And I'll pull up like their most famous target was Margaret Thatcher.
Oh gosh.
And while the puppets themselves were always grotesque looking, I gotta hand it to them that they never really relied just on appearances, that they also went after like a person's not politics, but like made fun of the person or made sort of jokes.
Okay, yeah. I've seen
with a much more
pictures
deeper
of those. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I always think it's interesting that a show like Spitting Image, which uses grotesque like caricatures of people, never really relied on their appearance as a joke, but rather their character. So like someone like Margaret Thatcher coming across as power hungry is the joke, not the fact that she has an ugly puppet, which admittedly is an ugly puppet.
Yeah. I mean, Margaret Thatcher isn't. Did she pass away? No,
yeah, she passed away a while back.
I mean, she wasn't hideous. I mean, she wasn't a glamour girl.
No, yeah.
But it wasn't like she was a gargoyle or something,
Yeah, but I think what I'm trying to say is that because on this show, you would think that the whole joke is the ugly puppet for someone's physical appearance, but it really is about the person. And so it's kind of funny to me that whenever I see comedians make like physical appearance jokes about other people, I kind of feel like they always land on the same groups, like, there's big women. Like they always end up, it's very rare that I hear jokes about big men, to be honest with you.
You know what? Rarely. Rarely. And the other thing about The View is for me, it seemed that the original premise Barbara Walters came up with is to have this group of women who, discussed issues and different viewpoints about issues, but in general were supportive of each other. And I would think that you want to keep that, especially, and with the guests as well. If you're a guest on somebody's show like that, you don't come on there and insult them, I just think that was not smart.
Not very intelligent. But moving on from The View, I wanted to ask you, do you know, since we're all big fans of Broadway here, do you have any Broadway flops that come to mind, or do you want me to name some for you?
Name me some Broadway flops. That'll help trigger my memory.
So the reason why I'm inspired to talk about this is because I saw the Diana musical on Netflix, and I thought it wasn't very good.
I've heard a lot of bad stuff about it.
I kind of feel it's one of those things where I just feel like the subject matter doesn't lend itself very well to a musical.
Okay.
And I feel like maybe to a TV show, yes. To a movie, yes. But musical,
not so much. Yeah.
You got to have this is going to sound really controversial. You got to have somebody as flamboyant as Lloyd Webber to be able to do it, because if he could do something, because Evita also died young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me to see Diana, I just think that took the most interesting parts of Diana and just did nothing with them. I don't know. For me, the most interesting thing that you can do with a musical is the fact that Diana had a lot of personal pain and personal problems, and they just didn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm inspired to talk about this, because I want to know. So some of the most famous ones are Via Galactica, which is a very, very, if you haven't heard of it, you haven't heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't, so okay.
Because it lost $1 million.
Okay.
And it opened on Broadway, and it's about a group of drifters in outer space, and they had spaceships, and here's some pictures I can show.
Sounds like a bad premise to start with.
And here's some pictures where they had some really bad costumes.
Yeah, no.
Very...
Bad idea.
Yeah. And it was praised at the time for having diversity, but it's also one of those things where like, can you put those people of color in better shows?
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Like, I was gonna say Breakfast at Tiffany's was a flop too. Chess, which is the very
now I've seen Chess now because they did it at CV Rep. I kind of liked Chess.
I actually thought so too.
And there's some great songs in there. In fact, there's a duet that I'm probably going to do with Siobhan on our next show. Called "I Know Him So Well," and it's a great two women duet. There's some good music. See, I liked Chess.
Yeah,
I liked it.
And Chess is actually produced by the two men from ABBA, so Benny and Bjorn. So you can really hear it in there. The talent.
Yeah.
The show itself has always been notorious because it's the one flop that I think most people would want to see back on Broadway.
Yeah. I liked the show. I thought it was a good show.
Yeah. And also like Carrie. Stephen King's Carrie got turned into...
Why would you make a musical about Carrie? I mean, seriously.
It's weird because that's one of the... when people think of flops, that's the first one they think of. And that musical, they had a lot of problems on stage. For example, like, with the bucket of blood. Let's just say imagine you're singing with a microphone and a bucket of blood.
Bad idea.
What they had to do was also like... and especially since you have to sing right after.
Yeah. You got that stuff you're breathing in, whatever that they actually used. Ugh.
So what happened was that they had to do it where they not only there was also a problem with the fact that the bucket wouldn't drop precisely on her, that she would stand a little off and the bucket would hit something else. And so like other problems would include like the telekinesis, the wires would drop, wires would fall everywhere. So you had a lot of technical issues and it just wasn't viable.
Bad idea.
I think so too. And the music was pretty good. Like, it's not terrible.
But the story is not a good story for a musical. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I've seen some dark stories, but I've also seen that the special effects to me is what bothers me because it's like, I don't think you can pull off those special effects on Broadway.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like when they try to do it, they've changed it up so much where like she doesn't get the blood thrown on her. They actually have someone like a stagehand run in and throw blood at her.
Yeah.
So like sometimes I heard that the stagehand wouldn't even be costumed. It would just be like a guy in a black like suit. And so it would be kind of weird because you would ask yourself, how would the villains get away with this if they're the ones running on stage pouring blood?
Yeah.
And in the movie they're hiding because they have a mechanism. And another famous Broadway flop was the Rocky Horror Show.
Well, now see, and that's too bad because Desert just did it and it was fabulous. They did a great job.
And I think it's only a Broadway flop by technicality because it's way more famous than most Broadway shows now. Like I've met people who have never heard of Evita, or I've met people who've never heard of Les Miserables or Into the Woods, but
those people need to get out of their cave. Good Lord.
But I've met people who know what the Rocky Horror Show is. And so it's kind of weird for a Broadway flop. It's more popular than a lot of Broadway shows, surprisingly.
Interesting. Okay, well, I think Rocky Horror and Chess are the two best ones out of all that, your whole list. So. All right, we're going to be back with some more entertainment news and some great guests a little later. We'll be back on the Desert Scene in just a bit.
The Desert Scene on Radio 111. Cultural events and the people who make it happen in the desert cities with Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza.
We are back on the Desert Scene, and one of the news stories that Brayan has is, so they're saying the founder of the originally Dinah Shore tournament, so it's going to stay...
in the Valley, like the actual party, but the golf tournament is going to be moving to Texas.
Okay. And why did they pick Texas?
It's such an interesting decision considering a lot of things, but like it's Houston specifically, and a lot of people in the Valley, they have mixed opinions about it. Like they feel that since the Dinah is really popular in Palm Springs,
always been very.
It's always
popular.
it's become such a Palm Springs staple that they should have the tournament here and might as well just keep it here. And a lot of people are saying, well, you know what? I wasn't a big fan of the actual like tournament. I'm here for the party, so it doesn't matter to me. But I still feel like people want the tournament.
Did you hear? Was there a specific reason somebody gave as to why they moved at all? And then secondly, why they picked Houston? Was there a reason behind that?
I don't know, because I'm under the impression that they kind of got a better deal in Texas. That the tournament at least got a better deal over there, or their contract was better, and so they went over there. And I think that they were trying to be intelligent about keeping the party here at least.
Because first of all, a couple things. I don't see Texas as being very gay friendly. I mean, it's not a gay-friendly state as far as I know. And, the dinosaur and the party has always kind of been thought of as it's a huge party for lesbians to come to Palm Springs and, hey, just be wild and crazy. So that's kind of interesting. And I actually, it's been 15 years, something like that. One year, I worked at the front desk. I was the front desk receptionist at the office at Mission Hills Country Club, the golf tournament office. And it was a really fun job, and the people were great. It was a small office. I think there were maybe 7 of us. Now, when tournament rolled around, it got pretty crazy. It got very intense and very busy, and phones ringing off the hook, and people upset. And I'm kind of tightly wound, so I got a little... But it was a fun job, and I'm glad I did it. But that's really too bad that they're leaving.
And the other thing is that they're actually moving. They're going to move the date from April to September, because they feel that because according to the founder of Mariah Hansen, she said we're moving to September for better rates. April is no longer affordable to us, because they feel that that the Coachella Valley has gotten way more expensive, and that certain events have become so astronomically priced that it becomes very difficult for their guests to pay for rooms. And I think that that's actually a fair point, because the fact is that, I can see that, because I feel like even events like the Dinah and White Party are so expensive to begin with that I can imagine like someone that's like, oh, I'm going to save my money for the event, and then the actual hotel prices go up, and it's like, oh, well, I can't afford that much more. It's such a shame.
Well, I think it's too bad. Yeah. But you know what? Life is about change, so sometimes you just have to... Let's talk about Jagged Little Pill.
Jagged Little Pill. So what's going on with Jagged Little Pill? Well, they're under a lot of controversy because of the fact that because the show itself it features Alanis Morissette music, and one of the parts about the musical is that a character's non-binary, so like someone who doesn't identify as a man or a woman, and they fit in the trans umbrella. Well, what happened is that they made a lot of issues where a lot of the actors have accused the producers as being very discriminatory, where, for example, one non-binary actor said, I was sick and I was told to have a certain surgery, and the producer said, well, if you need that surgery, you'll have to leave the show. We're not gonna require you, or you either work through it or you quit. You're fired. So a lot of them feel like they're being discriminated against, while another non-binary actor felt that they were picked on a lot during this on set. And the fact is that they've also gotten a lot of controversy in the preview screenings of it, preview performances, that the non-binary character was played by a woman instead of a non-binary actor. So the whole idea is that while they fixed the original problem of not having non-binary actors, it seems that a lot of the actors now feel discriminated against or picked on or attacked. And so the producers now feel like they have to do an investigation on the whole thing. Wow.
That's too bad. That's unfortunate.
Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like a certain group was picked on during a show that you've done?
Not a certain group, no. There's always in showbiz, there's always egos and there are always personalities, and there are personality clashes. And I've seen things where one person, like a director and one actor, don't get along, or individual people, not groups per se.
Oh, yeah.
But I've seen some personality clashes and egos that have become a problem.
And I think for me the worst part is the fact that if a person says they have to get some surgery, I think that it is kind of sad to make them feel terrible.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If they have to get it, especially considering that it wasn't like a cosmetic surgery, it was an actual.
It was something that was needed physically,
like
for
a medical
health.
surgery, like a kidney transplant or something like that.
No, that's kind of, that's not good.
No, it's not horrible. No. But we have a guest coming on.
Yes, Kristi King, my buddy Kristi King. She's a fabulous singer, and she's in a new show at Frankie's Italian Bakery and Supper Club in the back room coming up. We're going to talk to her in just a few minutes on the Desert Scene.
Bonnie and Brayan continue with the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here they are.
And we're back on the Desert Scene on Radio 111, our new home. And I'm really happy to have on. She's a veteran. She's been on the show many times. My buddy Kristi King, who is perhaps one of the hardest working singers in the Valley, that's for sure. And she's got a bunch of stuff coming up, but a big show coming up at Frankie's. Hey, Kristi, how are you?
Hi, Bonnie. I'm good.
And of course, in between all her singing, she's a jet setter. She's traveling all over the world, Italy and Capri and Mexico and all over the place. But so the season's kind of ramping up now. So first tell us about the Frankie show. I know you got a bunch of stuff, but tell us about the Frankie show.
Yeah. Well, that's October 16th. It's 6 o'clock at Frankie's Old World Italian Bakery and Backroom Showroom. Mm-hmm. That's a long one.
Yeah.
And it is a dinner show, and it is going to be basically a tribute show, a tribute dinner show with several different entertainers besides myself. I'll be doing Doris Day, which I've been doing a tribute to Doris for 13 years now. Mm-hmm. So I'll be doing my segment. Then Kitty Murray, who is one of the singers in my group, the Sensational Jewels,
fabulous.
Which I'm sure many of you, many of you seen, and Bonnie, you included. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you always for your support. Anyways, Kitty will be doing Marilyn Monroe, which she does in our show, and it's phenomenal.
Yep,
we'll be all dressed in the tribute attire, and then Frankie Mamoni, who is the owner of Frankie's, will be doing Jerry Vale.
And he's fabulous doing Jerry Vale, yeah.
Yes, he is. And we love him so much. Mm-hmm. What a beautiful person, period.
Yeah.
Anyway, then there's Tommy Dodson. Mm-hmm. And I haven't met Tommy, so I'm looking forward to that.
He's really good.
Doing Nat King. Yeah, good. I can't wait to meet him. He's going to be doing Nat King Cole. Mm-hmm. And then Joel Baker, who is our piano player and musical director, he'll be doing,
Robert Goulet.
What the heck is he doing?
Robert Goulet. Yeah.
I sang with Robert Goulet when I was 13 years old.
Wow. Yeah. What an amazing talent he was. Yeah. It's so great. And each of those, all the performers are matched up really well, I think, with the performer you're doing tribute to. So it's going to be so much fun. And of course, the back room, if people haven't been to the back room at Frankie's, it's fabulous. I mean, he's got a wonderful Italian bakery, but that back room, they've transformed into kind of a New York cabaret room, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful room.
It really is. Yeah, and Bonnie, you've performed there many times as well. Bonnie does her Rosalie Clooney.
It's a great room,
Yeah, we've all been back there, and it is a beautiful room. You feel like you're in a New York speakeasy in a way, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yes.
It has a very unique, sexy vibe.
Yes.
You know, it's just decorated, beautiful, gorgeous stage, a black grand piano.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful room. He's having amazing food, as he always does.
Yes.
He's making lasagna, which is my favorite, and salad and bread and dessert, cannoli, and then he's going to have a vegetarian. So it's quite a bit of entertainment and food.
Yes.
For the ticket price.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get $70 a person, and that's show.
It is $70 a person. You know, some people are like, "Oh, good Lord!" But you know, listen, you couldn't go to Vegas and see anything for that, and you wouldn't get dinner.
Right.
So
right.
I just left Vegas.
Yeah.
I just left there, and I mean, you couldn't see anything for under $150, $200.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's like, you know, I know times are tough, but listen, you know, a lot of people have been cooped up.
And they're desperate to get out and see something fun. Yes, yes.
Well, and why not see something that's really a variety and also have a beautiful meal and be in this beautiful setting?
Yes.
So to me, it's a win all the way around. I'm very excited about it.
Good. And so again, it's Saturday, October 16th, 6 p.m.
Correct.
The phone number is 760-770-1300. You can get tickets there or go to frankiesitalianbakery.com. And by the way, just a quick shout out to, in addition to Frankie, Hope Diamond was very instrumental in putting that room together. I mean, she and Frankie together made it fabulous. It's just gorgeous.
Right. And Harvey, of course, Luca.
Yes, Luca, yeah.
Frankie's partner is a big part of it as well, and I believe he's going to be doing some emceeing that night.
Good.
So, yeah, it's, you know, it really is. Hope did a lot of work, and they all did, and we're just lucky enough to be able to perform there, and we're so happy for them because supposedly, other than the front room, which I think they just opened, this will be the first show back in that room.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, that's great. So how do you decide, Kristi, I know you've been doing a Doris Day tribute for a long time, and a show like this, how do you pick do you pick the songs that people remember most that she did when you pick your material?
I am. I'm going to do two of her number one upbeat songs and one ballad.
Okay.
And I'm not going to tell anybody what they are, but trust me, you'll love them.
Okay. And so
I'm going to be, Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, I know this is a big show coming up, but you got some other things coming up too. Tell people about where else you're going to be in the next couple of months.
Well, sure. Well, tonight I'm at the Westin again. I'm at the Westin Mission Hills Resort. Over on Dinah Shore, and I'm there tonight, and I'm also there next Friday night with my piano player and in the lounge. There's no cover charge. It's 6 to 10 o'clock in the lounge at the Westin, so that's tonight and next Friday night. And then starting in November, I start back at the Indian Wells Resort Hotel, and I'll be having my own show. Finally, this is the first time I'll have my own show there. Well, other than my Doris Day show. I've done that several times. But every Thursday.
Oh, excellent.
Every single Thursday, starting in November, which is the 4th, all the way through May, and then every second Monday of the month as well, which starts on the 8th. That's with Larry Capilotto. I'm one of his featured singers that week. Second Monday of every month, and every Thursday, starting November 4th, my own show. I'll be doing Doris Day, I'll be doing Peggy Lee, I'll be doing Kristi King, Shaka Khan, Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston, Anita Baker, all of it.
Excellent.
And,
Now, the show on Thursdays, starting in November, do you have a pianist? Are you singing with a trio or a pianist?
I am.
Okay, cool.
I am. And I do all my tunes, which is, Bonnie, you know what I do. I do everything from the 70s up. So, and of course the Doris Day and Peggy Lee and stuff like that's much older, but most of my choices of songs start in the 70s and go all the way up. So I do a little bit of everything. I take requests. I play music trivia with everyone, and I keep it fun.
Yeah, so I'm curious, is there, I mean, no, you've been in this business a long time, and I know you do a wide variety of stuff. Is there a genre or a decade of music that you relate to more, or you're more enjoy more doing?
Yes, absolutely. It's always been Motown. I am a rhythm and blues singer, honey.
Okay.
Yep. That is my main style. That is my favorite music, and that seems to be what I, where my heart goes to, and that's what gets requested a lot. So,
what do you
I like the Motown.
What are a couple of your top Motown tunes that you do that you like to do the best?
Well, I mean anything by Aretha, Whitney, Anita Baker, Chaka Khan. I just went to see Chaka last weekend at the Fantasy Springs.
How was that?
I do. Oh God, man, she's so thin. She was so skinny, I couldn't believe it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, who cares, right? But I mean, I was just so shocked.
Yeah.
Last time I saw her, she was larger, and she always looks great, and she always sounds great. But it was quite a shock when she walked out. I mean, she was in like a size 6 bodysuit.
Wow.
Yeah, and she sounded amazing, and she is one of my favorites, I will say. And as a matter of fact, my piano player, Leon Biscara, played with Chaka Khan for many, many years. I used to go see him with her. He'll be with me at the Westin tonight. Leon Biscara, he played with Anita Baker. He was on a world tour for 10 years with Randy Crawford. He's played with Diane Shore. And he's a great...
he's terrific. Yeah, he really is.
He's a great jazz pianist as well. So he's always working with me, and that's always really nice. When we do the Anita Baker songs and the Chaka Khans, we just bring the house down.
And what I know I've asked you this before. You've been on the show before, but maybe it's changed. Do you have any pre-performance rituals, any pre-show? Do you meditate? Do you do anything special before you're going to go perform?
I don't. I always say a prayer.
Yeah.
You always say a prayer, like an internal prayer, my own personal prayer, just thanking God for the blessings and the ability to be able to perform and entertain people. But honestly, other than some warming up and a light prayer, I really don't do it. I don't do anything. I just get in there and get up there and do my thing. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing it a long time. I'm not going to tell you how long, but it's a long time.
Well, I mean, I've seen a little video of you when you were a kid. I mean, what was it, 8, 10, or whatever it was?
Yeah, 20 years ago, yeah.
Yes, I know. Time flies. Okay, again, so the Songs of the Legends dinner show at Frankie's Old World Italian Bakery and Supper Club, Saturday, October 16th, 6 p.m. So fabulous Kristi King as Doris Day, Joel Baker doing a tribute to Robert Goulet, playing piano, Frankie Mamoni doing Jerry Vale, Kitty Murray doing Marilyn Monroe, and Tommy Dodson doing Nat King Cole. Wonderful dinner, and there is a vegetarian option, which I like because I don't eat meat. $70 a person, but as you say, for dinner and show like this, that's really a pretty good price.
And dessert. And
dessert, yeah. And for tickets, you can go to frankiesitalianbakery.com or 760-770-1300. And it's right on Perez, right in Cathedral City. It's pretty easy to find.
They have to look for that sign. They definitely, when they go down Perez, it's Building F.
Yeah.
And they have to look for that little sign with the Italian flag on it and everything.
Right. Yeah. The first time you go, it's hard to find sometimes, but yeah, look for that. And what else did I want to ask you? Do you play an instrument yourself? I know you do rhythm instruments and that kind of thing. But do you play piano or anything?
I play piano by ear.
Okay.
And but never on stage. And on stage, I always play percussion. So I have about 5 different pieces of percussion that I use, and it's kind of my thing. My chimes. Everybody loves my chimes. I always have those bodies.
Ring those chimes. Yeah, I've seen pictures. Yeah, yeah.
I just love them. They just make on certain songs. They make such a nice addition. But hand percussion, and then just belt it out. I'm a belter.
Yeah. And one last question. Do you write? Have you ever written songs? Do you like to?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, Leon and I wrote 15 songs together. I've performed them in Vegas before. I've recorded an album of all of them. And I also have an album called By Request, which is all the songs that most people ask me to sing, and most of them are Motown. Yeah. And then I also have a Doris Day CD that I recorded of her top 11 hits.
Excellent. All right. Well, Kristi King, break a leg. I know you guys are going to be fabulous on the 16th. Break a leg for all your great shows. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, honey.
All
God
right.
bless.
The fabulous Kristi King. We'll be back with more on the Desert Scene in just a bit.
From musical theater to literature and all the other stuff we enjoy in between, making desert life so vibrant. You're listening to Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza and the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
And
I was going to say,
go ahead.
Well, hey, welcome back. And you know what? Andrew Lloyd Webber's fascinates me. He really is a fascinating person to me. Like, I overall just really love his shows for the most part. I think there's this joke in the theater community that you're kind of a hack if you like Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals, but I don't know. I feel like he's made too many musicals for me to ignore.
I mean, there's some good music. You got to give him that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And I actually thought, I saw Variety actually pull out this, Variety magazine pulled out a whole like issue on Andrew Lloyd Webber for the most part. And so previously on the show, when it was called something else, I forgot what it was, but
it's a memory.
The counting corner, whatever,
yeah. Okay.
Or the political corner. I'm just kidding. Imagine. But I was gonna say that we talked about how like Andrew Lloyd Webber got a lot of controversy because he wanted to, reopen the show, open shows to full capacity.
A little too soon, many thought.
Too soon, yeah. And he even said, "I'll go to jail." But I think in his opinion, he actually clarified that it wasn't necessarily that, oh, I'm going to really do it. It's more of like, I want to make a point that like, vaccines were effective, people will be masked, and people can be safe in the theater. Because he feels like the theater industry will be losing a lot of money over the years. And I know that like, I personally think that Andrew Lloyd Webber is not going to starve. But I get what he's trying to say.
If he never did another show, he's not going to starve.
No, certainly not. And one thing is that he talked about how like he's really happy that Phantom's coming back on Broadway. But I feel like I still feel like there's this attitude too about, it's complex because yes, like we do want theater audiences back, certainly, because the theater needs them. But how do we make it where it's safe and profitable?
Right. That is such, and right now I feel like it's a really big issue. And even locally from performers. I mean, I know a lot of singers and performers who are out there doing stuff now. And, certain cities have vaccine mandates and certain cities don't. And some clubs have them and some don't. And some might look for cards. And it's, it is a tough decision, but I think everyone has to err on the side of taking care of themselves and their own health. And I do think there is some responsibility on the part of venues, restaurant owners, club owners, bar owners, venue owners to keep both their patrons and their performers safe.
No, yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
No, I certainly agree with you because the fact is that it's like when I went to go see the Rocky Horror Show, like it was a small enough venue that I did feel that like, well,
they asked for vaccination cards. Yep.
And they really went out of their way to do that. And I know that, for example, like Andrew Lloyd Webber was against having too many like regulations at a show because he feels like, like I think that we could fill it up. We just have to be careful to like mitigate it in a way that we can make money because, Andrew Lloyd Webber is used to sell out shows, of course he is, and I almost, and he's not a COVID denier. He certainly said, of course COVID's a real dangerous thing, but I think it's safe. And it's kind of one of those things where I kind of want to tell Mr. Webber, like, sir, I mean, you could go back to like raising money like you did earlier in the year.
He's not a doctor.
He's not a doctor.
He's not qualified really to say what's safe and what's not.
That's true. And the one thing I remember that I was telling somebody about was I just think Lloyd Webber I think Lloyd Webber has good intentions. I just think that he has I think it's one of those people that, he's telling himself something's safe before it's really safe, and I feel like you can get sold out shows in a place like New York with vaccine mandates. I mean, there are plenty of people out there.
Absolutely. Well, look at the Tony Awards. Everyone in the audience at the Tony Awards had on a mask.
Yeah,
and I don't know what they did about vaccines or testing, but I have a feeling it was probably pretty. And here's the thing. It's First of all, Andrew Lloyd Webber's not I love his shows. I think he's a very talented guy. Andrew Lloyd Webber's not a doctor. He's not a medical professional. And there have been cases, we've all heard about them, of someone even who was vaccinated who went into a crowded thing. Somebody else was
like
sick.
11.
They got it. And now usually if you're vaccinated, you might get sick, but you don't end up in a hospital and die. But there've been a couple of stories of people who vaccinated still die.
And yeah, like in Aladdin, for example, Aladdin on Broadway had a bunch of breakthrough cases, and it was in the cast, and they just couldn't figure out what happened. And, to kind of tell you the reason I read this article is because Andrew Lloyd Webber actually doesn't need a doctor's note, because apparently he saw the movie Cats, and he bought a dog for emotional support. And he said that he went out of his way to try to get like a doctor's note for the emotional support animal, and the doctor said, you don't need a note, we'll just sign it over to you. And I think Andrew Lloyd Webber's had that happen to him, and now he's like, yep, I know health now.
No, yeah, no.
Just
no.
kidding. No,
I mean,
I
here's
love
the
him.
thing. Money's great, theater's great, but is it worth someone dying?
No, of course
no,
not.
It's not.
And I think it's interesting because, like, I don't know, I'm just going to leave it at that I just think it's a complex issue. And I just feel like we'll get to that point where we can be profitable in theater and be able to keep people safe. And also, I mean, it's already been proven locally with the Desert Rose Playhouse.
You can do it.
Yeah,
you can do it. Ask for vaccine. They were sold out and had the show extended. And but they asked for vaccination cards at the door. So what does that tell you?
It tells you a lot about the fact that a small city can do it. I'm sure a big town can do it.
All right, we'll be back with more. Actually, when we come back, we're going to talk to Michael Shaw. He's going to tell us what's coming up at Dezart in just a bit.
From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater, Radio 111 presents Bonnie G and Brian Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brian.
And we are back on The Desert Scene on Radio 111, and we're now joined by another friend of mine, a veteran who's been on the show many times, Michael Shaw, talking about...
Hi.
Hey!
Bonnie and Brian, hi.
It feels like it's been like 12 years. You know?
Oh my God, honey. You know what? When David, our PR guy, told me that we get to do our talk, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yay!
He's like, it's over the phone, and I'm like, what? I miss you so much.
Oh, I know. Well, one of these days, we're going to get back to live in studio interviews. But tell us, so Dezart, you're going to be back rolling again. Tell us what's coming up.
I know. Well, we started rehearsals Monday night, just 4 nights ago, for our first musical, our first ever musical. And it's called Girlfriend. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful, sweet love story between two high school graduates. They become fast friends over an album.
Okay.
In the early 90s in a small town in Nebraska. The captain of the football team and the president of the chess club, Mike and Will.
Okay.
And they fall in love over a cassette tape. They both love the music. They share the music, and over the course of the musical, they share this passion for music and end up falling in love. And it's just this very sweet, celebratory love story. Celebrating Pride, because we're a week from Pride at that point, so we thought it would be appropriate. Plus, we just wanted to do something that was fun and not heavy, and something that was just welcome back.
Yes.
And we kind of are pulling out all the stops. We're outside. We're going to be at the Rancho Mirage Amphitheater, so we've more than doubled our audience for this.
That's fabulous.
And we're doing dinner and a show. So you can have dinner with 4 friends and see the show. So grab a bite to eat with a glass of wine that's included, and watch a wonderful story.
Now, tell me, so the dinner, so now I haven't actually, I haven't been at the amphitheater. So do you sit there and eat, or you eat somewhere else and then come there?
No, you sit there. So they have tables. The amphitheater is huge. I mean, if you were to put individuals there, it's like 1,200.
Wow.
But we only have it set up for 250 and 27 tables. We're going to have 27 tables. And then you get a 3-course meal catered by Lulu. And includes wine and tip and gratuity. Everything's included, plus the show. So you have dinner for about an hour, hour and 15, and then the show starts. If you decide you don't want to have dinner with us, which we would love to have you join us, there is general seating available. So general admission would be in the upper tiers of the amphitheater because it's all tiered. So the dinner tables are all in the first 3 tiers. And then the 4th and 5th tier, every seat, by the way, is a great seat because it's an outdoor amphitheater.
Right.
Then tiers 4 and 5, we have general seating for those who aren't able to join us for dinner.
How exciting is that? Now tell me about now. So you've directed musicals before, haven't you, or have you?
I have not. So this was kind of an exciting jump off of a ledge thing for me.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever told you, but friends will tell you, colleagues will tell you that I swore we will never do a musical because other theaters do them and they do them well, and it's not my thing. I don't look at musicals like, you know what, I want to produce a musical. Yeah. But that's not to say that I don't love them, because I just saw Hamilton for the 3rd time. Oh my goodness. And I've actually performed as a dancer in over 30 musicals. So musical theater is very much a part of my life. I just thought, you know what, I want to let the professionals do it. But when I find a story that I think is a really important story to tell, because it taps into a very different time, 30 years ago in a small town in Nebraska. And, it's a story of so many of young gay boys' lives, like that first time you fall in love with somebody. Yes. And I have an incredible team. So the guys at Desert Theatricals, who actually operate out of the amphitheater, they've done Pirates of Penzance, and they're doing Mamma Mia this year. Huge musicals. These guys are really big pros. They're coming in and they're joining us as a team. So they're musical directing and choreographing. And then I'm doing the staging as the director. And it's just a wonderful collaboration. So I'm in great hands, and I'm excited to be working with these boys because they are just they're pros. And Tom's designing our set, and he has a 50-foot wide set stage to work with. So he's like in heaven right now. Yeah. We're just excited. There's something totally different for us.
So musical direction by Joshua Carr, choreography by Ray. How do you pronounce his last name? Lemon. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, good. I want to get that right.
And starring, returning from Hand to God, Eddie Vona is coming back. Okay. And he is joined by his partner and husband, Kyle Hester, plays opposite him.
Excellent.
So it's a husband and husband team, and they are absolutely delightful together, and we're having the time of our lives.
Fabulous. So let's go on and talk about the rest of the season. What else is coming up?
So in January, we move back into the Women's Club, which is our home, as you know. And we open in January with a 2-person drama called The Mountaintop. Okay. And it's a reimagining of Martin Luther King Jr.'s last night on Earth. So he's visited by a stranger. This woman visits him in his hotel room, the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis. And we don't know who she is, but she comes as housekeeping. But she's not housekeeping. So we're like, who is this mystery person? And he's very suspect because the FBI is investigating him at the time and everything. So this woman visits him, and there is an amazing revelation on who she is. So it's not based in fact. It's someone's reimagined story of what might have happened the night before he died. And it is brilliant. I found it and it was on Broadway. Angela Bassett and Samuel L. Jackson did it on Broadway about 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Cortez Johnson returns after having done Sweat. He comes back and he'll be playing Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow. Okay.
And so we're doing that. And then our third show is Grand Concourse, which is a drama comedy set in a soup kitchen in the Bronx, run by a nun who has lost her faith in God.
Okay. Wow.
It's very, very funny, actually. It's hysterically funny.
Okay.
And she's trying to run the soup kitchen. So there's a story about her and her relationship with a young volunteer who tries to help her out in the soup kitchen. And things don't go as planned.
Okay.
So there's that. And then our last show of the season, opening in April, we're actually closing out our season with what we originally wanted to close out in 2020, and that's the one-man show starring Joel Bryant. And that's Every Brilliant Thing, which is the hysterical comedy actually out of Britain called Every Brilliant Thing, and it is a comedy. It's the funniest play you'll ever see about depression.
Wow.
And, Joel Bryant stars in that, and he's been chomping at the bit for almost 2 years to do it, so now he gets his chance.
Excellent. Excellent. And I want to touch on something that we were actually just talking about before. On your PR, it says important COVID-19 policy for the health, safety, and well-being of our patron staff and artists. Dezart requires guests to be fully vaccinated. Upon arrival, all guests must present a photo ID along with proof of vaccination, which I think is fabulous. I'm really glad you're doing that.
Good. Well, thank you. Our entire company is vaccinated, and while we're in production, we are doing weekly COVID-19 testing within the company as well.
Excellent. Brian has a question for you.
You know, I wanted to ask, because I know that you said earlier that musicals weren't your thing in terms of direction. I know that it's possible to love something but not necessarily want to create it, you know what I mean? And I wanted to ask you, since Girlfriend isn't like a soup, I know Girlfriend's well known in certain circles, but it's not like a Phantom level. Did you feel that because of the fact that it wasn't as big as something as Phantom, did you feel like you had more leg room to be able to be creative and make mistakes? Because it is your first time making a musical. Did you feel like you were able to be more vulnerable with it or be able to play with it more?
You know what? No, that wasn't my thought going into it. My thought was, this is a story that needs to be told.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's based on an entire album by Matthew Sweet, which I grew up with. I just moved to Hollywood when Matthew Sweet's album came out, Girlfriend. So this is based on the album of the same name by Matthew Sweet. So the music was a huge draw, as was the story. And, I'm inclined to do things that are risky ask Bonnie. I will. I don't do the normal.
Yeah, that's true. That's
stuff.
True. Yes.
So nothing ever really makes me fearful in terms of my creating. What I do, and I think I do well, is I surround myself with really, really good team, a great team, and very, very talented people.
Yeah.
So I never go into anything like, oh my God, I never look for an out. I just look for, this is something I want to do, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
that's
good
just
for
how
you.
I approach life.
That's a great
So that's awesome.
I want to get this in. So for tickets, so by the way, Girlfriend, 4 nights only, October 27th through the 30th, dinner and show option at the Rancho Mirage Amphitheater. For tickets, you can call 760-322-0179 or go to Dezart Performs, DEZART, performs.com. Correct? Did I get all that in?
Correct. .com or .org will get you to the same spot.
Okay.
And if you want to get your friends together for a dinner and a show, do it now, because those tables are selling. The tables are selling fast. I had someone want a 6-top. We have a few 6-tops, and I'm like, oh my God, I have one left, and he's like, I want it. So, grab it now, because we're just less than 3 weeks away.
And if you're doing dinner, what time does that start? 6? Does that start at 6 or what time?
So we're opening the house at 5:30 for dinner guests.
Okay.
We want to give ourselves about 30 minutes because we have a lot of check-in that's going to happen between checking vaccine cards and all that stuff. So dinner starts at 6, and then there's a no-host bar, so there's an open bar for anybody who wants to have a cocktail beforehand. That includes general admission. They're welcome to come. So general admission will open the house at 6:45. which gives those folks plenty of time, 45 minutes, to get a cocktail, to sit and relax, take in the scenery, and then the show starts at 7:30 for everybody.
Excellent. What a great way to kick off your season. That is
Thank you.
So exciting. And, of course, in the desert, late October is perfect weather usually. Perfect.
Oh,
And also a variety
I woke up
of
this
shows.
morning. Yeah. What's that, Brian?
No, I was going to say also I love looking at your season because there's like a variety of shows and opportunities for diversity, not only of stories, but the types of people telling the stories. Like, I love it. Like, I'm digging it.
Thank you. Oh, you know what? I do have to give a little plug too.
Yes.
In November, we're presenting a special staged reading of a new play by Lorenz Catava.
Okay.
And it's a benefit. It's a stage played reading of a new play called Speak My Words, Tell My Truth. And it chronicles black male gay figures.
Okay, that would be great.
We are presenting it, and the benefit, it benefits Brothers of the Desert, which is a wonderful nonprofit organization for friends and members of the Black community. So,
all right, we'll have to have you come
join
on.
us for that.
We'll have to come back on and talk about that. Michael Shaw, congratulations on Dezart's new season, and so great this new show, Girlfriend. Break a leg, and thank you so much for being here.
My dear.
Love
you
talking
too,
to you.
guys. Brian, take care. Thank you.
All right. Michael Shaw will be back with more on the desert scene in just a bit.
He likes to read. She likes to sing and act. They both love the Coachella Valley. And they love talking about the desert scene with you on Radio 111. Here's Bonnie G and Brian Mendoza.
So there's been a lot of protests over, well, not anything. Well, actually, I think it's important stuff because it's the theater community. And of course, what reflects in the outside world definitely reflects in the theater community.
Absolutely.
And so the theater community, there's been a lot of discussions about wages and how much you pay somebody, and it's a whole conversation. So over in North Shore, the North Shore Musical Theater Company over in Beverly, Massachusetts had to cancel their production of Mamma Mia, especially on opening night because of the fact that all the stagehands went on strike. And they actually went on strike the day of the performance. And of course, like they were discussing the fact that the person who owns the actual theater hasn't paid them well enough, and that they're underpaid for a lot of work. And also that they also are protesting the fact that a lot of people who were trying to get rehired, they can't get rehired, even though the pandemic has sort of
eased up a
bit, and that they feel like we can reasonably get these people on to work. And so the community decided, the theater company decided to I guess the company, not the actual company, but like the company, they decided to finally unionize and do a protest. And I know that some people get mad about, some people at the actual show, like the patrons, were getting mad because of the fact that the Mamma Mia show got canceled. So that's what happened over in Beverly, Massachusetts.
Now, was that like in the last few days or week or so?
This happened 2 days ago, actually.
Okay, so we don't know what the resolution is at this point. Okay,
not yet, sadly. And I was going to say that for me, it sort of speaks volumes about the fact that, like, it is a very difficult issue because right now theater companies are struggling, but there's also a thing where, like, if you're going to perform, set up a whole production, you have to pay the people there well.
Exactly. And, this also comes back to a bigger picture. I mean, it's really, I think, an issue that's arisen, and it's really a big issue, especially during the pandemic and now, is caring about what happens to other people, not just me. Well, I'm being paid well at my job, so I wanted to go see Mamma Mia, and they canceled it. Well, that's not fair. Well, maybe that stagehand is trying to feed his family, so maybe just stop and think about someone else besides you.
I think with you, Bonnie, I think you've had enough experience that you could actually attest to the fact that stagehands do actually save.
Oh my gosh.
They save the show.
You can't do a show without stagehands, backstage people moving props around in scenery. You got to have them.
And the fact is that the actual union members have said to the newspaper that I borrowed this from, CBS Boston, they are sad about the fact that they had to cancel a show that they love.
I'm sure.
Especially Mamma Mia, because, I don't think Mamma Mia is the greatest show, but it's a fun show.
It's fun and upbeat, and people need that right now.
Yeah, and if anything, like you said, need it now. And and there's also been like employees there at the theater, just to let you know that like not everyone agrees. Like you said, it's funny you touched on the point that it's not only the patrons.
It's not just about you. Think about other people.
Like there's an employee of the theater who actually was against them too. It's like saying to the stagehands, it's really unfair because I wanted to go back to work, and it's unfair that you have to do it on opening night. But it's also one of those things where, according to the article, they were negotiating for a while.
So this was not something that they sprung on them at the last second. They've been talking about it.
And what happened was that the negotiations were just not progressing. So they all walked away. They all walked off and started to protest. And I think this is the thing. I would rather have a very happy stagehand crew. I was gonna say, I don't know what I was gonna say, but I was gonna say I want them to be happy, because guess what? When the show gets put on, it reflects on the performers.
They're gonna do a better job, and the whole thing will be better.
Yeah, and like there's a reason why a lot of we talked about Broadway flops earlier in the show in the last hour, and it's because a lot of those shows had terrible behind the scenes problems, and
that can sink a show. That can easily sink a show.
And you can have like the most brilliant cast and great director, but if you don't pay your
the scenery's falling down and the props aren't there and the curtain doesn't go up or whatever.
And also it's funny because in the movie industry, and I talked about it on Flicks and Picks, they are actually still negotiating a strike with the equivalent of the stagehands for movies, like the crews. If they go on strike, a lot of movies don't get made.
Absolutely.
And I'm one of those people that I believe that I think theater needs to be taught in schools as almost like a requirement or something that gets pushed, because I think people need to see
some basics, to understand the basics.
And I think that there should be a basic education about how theater works, because I feel like people kind of go into a show and kind of see, like, I don't know how to say it, but like robots in their mind, like people that just know their lines and know everything perfectly.
They don't take into consideration how much prep went into this, how much work went in, and how many people are actually involved that you may not see on stage.
I remember like I saw sometimes. I don't do a lot of theater personally, but I've been behind the scenes a lot, and I can tell you think that there's 2 people on stage. No, there's 100 people on that stage. It's just that they're hiding.
You don't see them personally,
and you should be happy that you don't see them, because that's their job.
Right, exactly. Good point. All right. Okay, we're going to be back with Jerome Elliot, my buddy. He is directing and a cast member in a show I'm doing for Desert Ensemble Theatre Company. We'll talk to him in just a moment.
Bonnie and Brayan continue with the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here they are.
And we're back on the Desert Scene on Radio 111, our new home. And now we're joined, this has been a show full of really good friends of mine, our guests, which is great. So now we're joined by the fabulous Jerome Elliot, who is the director. He also conceived the show. He's part of the cast and a show I'm doing. I'm very excited. Reunited, and it feels so good. The Desert Ensemble Theatre Company's scholarship benefit concert season opener, season 11. Hey, Jerome.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks so much for being here. So, as you know, I am, beyond excited to be part of the show. I've wanted to be part of the season opening concert for a long time, and I finally made the cut. So, tell people how you came up with this theme this year.
Well, first of all, we're delighted to have you in the show with us.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy that you're able to do it, because we're having a great time in rehearsals. I came up with this theme because it's the first time that our theater company is getting together to do a live presentation in 19 months. So we are definitely reunited, and it really does feel so good. And usually for these concerts, I always pick some sort of theme that we work around. For example, the last one 2 years ago was on the 21st century. They were all songs from Broadway from the past 20 years. This time I'm keeping a little more loose. We're just having so much fun being live again. I decided to let you all pick what you want to sing, because anything that you sing and makes you happy is going to make the audience happy. So we've got a diverse group of singers. I mean, you're very American songbook, and Darcy is more jazzy, contemporary. Charles is Broadway, opera, pop. Charles Herrera can do anything. And then I'm kind of comedy,
cabaret,
obscure. So it's a lot of fun. We got 24 numbers, I think, and each one of them I love.
Yeah, and of course, Joel Baker, the fabulous Joel Baker's musical director.
Is our music director for the very first time.
Yep.
And we're delighted to work with Joel. He's one of the best. He is the best in the Valley. There's just no question.
And we're new home, right? Palm Springs Cultural Center. Talk about that move.
We have been for the past 7 seasons at the Palm Springs Women's Club. The seasons before that, we were at the Annenberg over at the Art Museum. But when Coyote Stageworks unfortunately closed their doors this summer, and we're all going to really miss them because they did great work, we decided to move from the Women's Club downtown to the Palm Springs Cultural Center, which many people know is the home of the Camelot Theaters. It's better parking for our patrons than downtown. It's a little more comfortable seating, and it's just a different feel for us. We're also going to get great exposure by being at the Cultural Center. We have an ad on their screens before every movie, so everybody who comes to see a movie there knows that Desert Ensemble Theater is there. So we really think this is a growth move for our company.
Absolutely. And the other thing was we had to, and of course I just spoke to Michael Shaw about Dezart. When you were there, Desert Ensemble Theater kind of had to juggle seasons a little bit with what Dezart was doing, and now you don't have that issue.
Yeah, we had to negotiate dates with Michael, and it was always wonderful. We always both got the dates that we wanted. Sometimes we had to compromise a little.
Yeah.
But there's also other activities that go on in the Women's Club, the Women's Club activities themselves. So this gives us much more flexibility with our calendar to actually get the dates that we want.
And do you want to talk a little bit about the rest of the season?
Sure. We've got a great season coming up. First play opens December 10th. It's called the Bebo Brinker Chronicles, and it's based on a series of lesbian pulp fiction novels from the 1950s and 60s. And the wonderful television actress and theater actress Judith Chapman is directing.
Fabulous, yes.
Judith is fabulous. And turns out the author, Anne Bannon, who wrote the original pulp fiction novels, is going to be in our audience opening night. And give a curtain speech to our audience. It was just a course of fate. One of our audience members used to teach college with her in Sacramento. So we're very excited about that. And then we're doing an original work by Tony Padilla called Artificial Morality, which really takes a look at how people can kind of twist the truth on the internet these days to their own advantage.
Yes.
And I do believe you have a role in that.
I do. I'm really excited about it.
Tony Padilla considers you his muse.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm so honored by that.
Yeah. And then in February, we're doing a play called Salty, which is loosely based on the story of the 2 penguins in the Dutch zoo who adopted an egg, the 2 male penguins, and the world watched. And the author, A.J. Klaus, set it against a story of climate change in the last zoo on the planet.
Wow.
And I'm directing that.
That's interesting.
Funny. Yeah, it's funny. It's touching. When I read it, I couldn't put it down. And finally, we have Keith Cornell directing All This Intimacy by Rajiv Joseph, who has been a Pulitzer Prize nominee. And it's a sex comedy gone wrong. It's about a young college professor who, in the course of 1 week, impregnates 3 women.
Wow.
Including a student, his girlfriend, and his 42-year-old neighbor. And boy, does he get in a lot of trouble.
Well, as he should. Yes.
As he should.
Yeah.
As he should. When I read it, I thought this is funny, but it's also kind of a statement on male privilege, and especially white male privilege today. So we think that's going to be a very appealing show for our audience, both from a comedy level and also from a learning experience.
Yeah.
So that's our season. It's rich, it's diverse, and it opens October 22nd with this concert.
Would you say, so this is season 11, when I know you weren't, you didn't have the title you have now at the very beginning, but from what you've watched from the very beginning up until now, do you think Desert Ensemble and Tony's vision, has the vision unfolded the way you think, the way you envisioned it, or the way you think Tony envisioned it, or has it surpassed everything?
I think we've surpassed it. We've certainly kept Tony Padilla, our original artistic director and founder, now our artistic director emeritus, had a vision of a company where artists could come and grow and bring things to the table. I know I've brought plays to the table, Miss Gulch Returns being one of them, which was a one-person show that I performed.
Such fun,
and,
yes.
Really empowered all of us as who were members of the company to make it our own. So, and of course, Tony is a prolific writer.
Yes, he is.
And we always try to do one of his works every season. A couple of seasons it didn't work out that we had anything, but Tony writes theater of the mind. It's very intellectual. It makes you think. It's very rich and linguistically deep.
Yes.
And I became artistic director 3.5 years ago, although I've only produced 1.5 seasons because of the pandemic.
Right.
But I've just decided to follow in that trajectory and try to find plays that probably you wouldn't see at other theater companies here in Palm Springs.
And also, one of the things that I really like about DETC is the focus they put on students, young people learning theater and scholarships and that kind of thing.
Right. Well, this weekend, the entire weekend, all 3 performances are a benefit for our internship and scholarship fund. We have given $18,000 in scholarships since 2011. Student interns come and they work backstage with us. They work with our lighting designer, our costume designer, our set designer. They learn skills that they can then take on with them as they go on to their college studies. And a couple of our students, one is the assistant stage manager of Hamilton on Broadway.
That's
Another
so
is
great.
Teaching lighting design at Yale. So we're very proud of them, and they really work quite hard.
And haven't we?
To watch them.
Yeah, haven't we had a couple? Haven't you had a couple students direct things, or student direct, or assistant direct, or student direct things?
Cameron Keyes, who actually is as a sophomore at College of the Desert now, he was in a play for us. He was in Expressions, played a teenager. He assistant directed our Adoption Roulette a year and a half ago with Sean Abramowitz.
Yep.
And he directed the table read of this play that you're going to be in, and he's so wise and insightful, way beyond his years, and he wanted to direct a play, so he's directing a play in January.
Excellent.
And we're very, very, very happy about that.
Yeah, excellent. And tell us about your, and you work with Sean Abramowitz, so what's Sean's title again?
I'm artistic director. Sean is executive director, and we're kind of joined at the hip, the two of us. You know, sometimes I don't know where I stop and he begins. I'm responsible for all the artistic vision and the programming. He's responsible for producing and all the administrative things like insurance and finance. And then there's some areas that we share together. There's not a day goes by that we don't talk on the phone. And
it's important to have. It's great that you have such a great relationship, because that would be tough for a theater group if you didn't have that
we're like family.
Yeah,
that's how we consider it, and that's how we hope to continue going on. One day in the future, when Sean and I have moved on, we hope that there will be people coming behind us who share that same vision and want to keep the company moving forward in that same fashion.
And I want to ask, one thing I always love to ask directors, Jerome, is how would you describe your directing style? There are some directors who are kind of micromanagers who, say the line this way, move this, do that, do this. Others are much more relaxed and kind of let the cast, let's try this and try that, see what works. And I've also heard directors say it's anywhere from 50, 60 to 90% of the success is casting. Do you agree with that?
Casting is very, very important. You have to make sure you have the right energy, the right interpersonal relationships between the actors on stage. My style, and you've probably seen a little bit of it as I've directed this piece, is I want to see what you bring to, in this case, you bring to the song. If I was directing a play, I want to see you at the table read through the play in the first few rehearsals on your feet, get a sense of the character. Only then will I start to try, if I see something that I think could be a little different or a little clearer or expressed a different way, I'll try to gently nudge you that way. There's very, very rare instances where I will say, and here I need you to do this.
Yeah.
If that's really, really important, I'll do that. But I'm more of a hands-off guy, because in the end, an actor, a singer, they bring the performance. The director just enables them to fine-tune it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the show is Reunited, and it feels so good. The season 11 scholarship benefit concert, Desert Ensemble Theatre Company, at our new home, Palm Springs Cultural Center, October 22nd through the 24th, Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m., Sunday, 2 p.m. For tickets, people can call 760-565-2476 or go to desertensembletheater.org. And what's the ticket price, so folks know?
Friday night has a reception. It's $65, and all of that goes to our scholarship fund. And then Saturday and Sunday matinee are $45.
Okay, great. 45. All right. And it's really a fun show. Again, Joel Baker, who's fabulous. We're so excited to be working with him. And Darcy and Charles. And it's so great because we're all of us have been in the Valley for a while. And we're all friends. We all know each other. We've all seen each other's performances. And I think we've all, in one way or another, worked together before. So it's just such a great camaraderie and Reunited, and doing some songs about friends. And I think it's a really fun show. I hope everybody will come see it. And again, Jerome, thank you. I'm so happy to be part of it. And
thank you, Bonnie.
Can't wait to do the show. All right.
I will see you at rehearsal.
Yes, Jerome Elliot. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, Bonnie.
We'll be back with more in the Desert Scene in just a bit.
The Desert Scene on Radio 111. Cultural events and the people who make it happen in the desert cities with Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza.
Hey, we're back, and you get to finally hear my voice again.
Yay!
I always wonder what our audience thinks about, like, when I go silent during interviews.
He's taking a nap.
He's taking a nap. Wonder what he's doing. Yeah. Is he browsing on the internet? Yeah. Technically, I am, because I'm trying to find
news stories. Yeah.
News stories,
so what you doing today in history?
Yeah. Yep. So today in pop culture history, because we're a pop culture show, in 1927 on October 8th. Laura and Hardy become a team officially.
Wow,
and in 1927, the short film, The Second 100 Years, was released, and they were finally officially a team. And have you ever enjoyed anything for Laura and Hardy?
You know, it's not really my thing, but obviously they were very talented.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like the Three Stooges, where I'm
not a Three Stooges girl. No.
I get that.
That's a guy thing usually, yeah.
I was gonna say, if you had to go to a screening of Laura and Hardy movies or Three Stooges movies,
Laura and Hardy.
Yeah. I would say it would depend on the Three Stooges movies, and it would depend on the Laura and Hardy. But for me,
that's a good point.
For me personally, maybe Laura and Hardy, because I think they have stronger stuff as opposed to the Three Stooges, where
it's just slapstick. It's just all silly slapstick. For
I think they have good stuff. I just think that I'll be honest, I just normally think that their weak stuff is really weak.
Yeah.
I've seen some shorts when they do the fake Shemp. When they have the fake actor, and it's it's obvious that the actor is dead.
Yeah.
And with Laura and Hardy, the fact is that they're just, I just think they're a really good team together. And I saw this biopic they did of them, and it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things where, like, I know that in real life there was some like tragedy and a little bit more darkness to it, but I like the fact that their shows were just that their movies were just so much fun to watch, if anything.
Yeah.
But
what else?
And then on October 9th, 1986, The Phantom premiered in West End, in the London West End, and it became a Tony winner. Of course, it won Best Musical at the Tonys and beat out Into the Woods. And many people have their opinions that Into the Woods should have won, but I wanted to ask you, Into the Woods or Phantom?
I have to tell you, and I'm embarrassed, but I've never seen either one of them all the way through. I mean, I know Phantom much better than I know Into the Woods as far as the story and the songs and all that. I mean, I've heard the cast out. I know all the music. You know, Into the Woods, I've heard a few things. So just based on that, just from a popular standpoint, I could see why Phantom might have won.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because, like, I noticed that, I think I said this last week, that the Tonys are a popularity contest.
To a certain degree, yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, if your show has a lot of traction, it's going to win. I think what makes Phantom so appealing is the fact that it is very mysterious and very like atmospheric, like the rock music and the chandelier.
I was gonna say the chandelier. I mean, you have a love story and you have forbidden and you have danger and you have the chandelier. I mean, you have all that stuff. Yeah.
And just the music itself holds up really well outside of it.
Very
like,
dramatic. Yeah.
All I Ask of You.
I mean,
Phantom.
great. So many great songs.
So I can see that. Whereas Into the Woods is very much a stage musical. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I feel like there are two types of music when it comes to Broadway shows, like the singles, like songs that can work
as something else, like Mac the Knife, or almost like Being in Love, which was from Brigadoon, but it's now a jazz standard. Yeah.
And there are in the show songs where the songs don't really work outside of the show. And Into the Woods has a lot of great songs, but like Last Midnight, which is the most popular one, I feel like that song only really works in the show, and I don't like it when people sing it outside of it. But I get it.
That's a point. What else?
And I was also going to say that I was going to do October 10th, but we'll skip that one. But October 11th is going live from New York. It's Saturday night. It's Saturday Night Live premiere.
What year?
1975.
Wow.
So Saturday Night Live actually finally premiered, and I know that like back then it was actually called Saturday Night for the first couple episodes. That's why you'll see them say it's Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I keep thinking they're saying live from New York, it's Saturday Night Live, but they never say it. Like I don't know why I feel like they said it. Did you watch the new season?
Did I watch the new season?
Yeah, the one that came out.
No, I every now and then I'll watch it. I mean, I don't think it's what it used to be. Every now and then they'll have a skit or a segment that's really good. It's not what it used to be. I don't think.
I think, like, for example, like one of the things I will say about new Saturday Night Live, it's just that I feel like they love a impersonation or a joke so much that they kind of drag it out. Like I think, like, if anything, the Donald Trump years, they really loved Alec Baldwin so much that you can kind of tell that he was getting tired of it. And I don't blame him, because I mean, I would get tired of putting on that performance, because it's like, you know, as someone said, sometimes it's funnier it's not so funny when it's not that far off, you know, like
exactly.
And
I just have to say that one of the funniest skits, though, I thought Saturday Night Live was it Melissa McCarthy dressed up as the
Sean Spicer?
Yeah, that was hilarious when she's running around on the podium chasing people. That was funny. That was very funny.
And you know, it's weird because I actually told someone that there's some weird millennial humor in Saturday Night Live with like the driving cat that just drives the car over the cliff. And I told someone that joke has aged pretty well with millennials, and I don't know what it is. It's absolutely hilarious.
Are we? Oh my gosh, we're out of time. Thank you so much to our guests, Kristi King, Michael Shaw, Jerome Elliot, all wonderful performers. And thank you to Brayan.
Thanks, Bonnie, and thanks everybody for listening and all that. And hey, stay safe and have a good time.
Please do. Yes. See you next week.